The fisheries component of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, the TCA, between the UK and the EU, encapsulates one of the most symbolic and contentious elements of Brexit. For many supporters of Brexit, reclaiming control over British waters was a defining goal. However, the transition from the EU's Common Fishery Policy, or CFP, to the TCA has introduced a new set of challenges and uncertainties. And this video explores the fisheries provisions of the TCA, the critical importance of the year 2026 in future negotiations, and the potential responses from the EU if the UK opts to reduce or eliminate fishing quotas for EU fishers in British waters after this date. It also highlights how these developments are a direct consequence of Brexit and their broader implications for UK-EU relations. The fisheries sector, though relatively small in economic terms compared to other industries, has held substantial political weight in the Brexit debate. The EU's Common Fisheries Policy allowed EU member states to access British waters, a policy that many in the UK viewed as unfair and detrimental to local fishing communities. As Brexit negotiations unfolded, the fisheries issue became a key battleground, with both sides keen to assert their priorities. Under the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, the UK regained sovereignty over its waters, but agreed to a transitional arrangement to smooth the shift. From January 1st in 2021 until June 30th in 2026, EU fishers would retain access to UK waters, though with gradually reducing quotas. Specifically, the TCA stipulates that by the end of this transition period, the EU's share of the total allowable catch in UK waters, they are called TACs, will be reduced by 25%. This agreement represents a compromise. The UK regains more control over its marine resources while allowing EU fishers time to adapt to the new regime. And this transitional arrangement was seen as a necessary compromise to facilitate Brexit, but it also set the stage for potential conflicts post-2026. The year 2026 is significant because it marks the end of the transition period, after which the UK will have the ability to unilaterally decide on further reductions or even a complete halt to EU fishing rights in its waters. The year 2026 is pivotal in the context of the UK-EU fisheries relationship for several reasons. It, as I said, represents the end of the transitional period specified in the TCA, at which point the UK will have the full legal authority to determine the future of EU fishing rights in its waters. This decision could involve maintaining the status quo, extending access rights, or imposing drastic reductions or even zero quotas for EU fishers. And for the UK, this moment signifies an opportunity to assert its sovereignty and control over its marine resources. The potential to set quotas or restrict access to UK waters aligns with the Brexit goal of regaining control over national resources. And this could be particularly appealing to politicians and stakeholders who view fishing rights as a tangible benefit of leaving the EU. Conversely, for the EU, 2026 poses a significant risk. The fisheries sector in several EU member states, such as France, Spain, the Netherlands, and Denmark, depends heavily on access to UK waters. A reduction or elimination of quotas could have severe economic repercussions for these countries, leading to potential backlash and heightened tensions with the UK. Should the UK decide to significantly reduce or completely eliminate EU fishing quotas after 2026, the EU is likely to respond with a range of measures. And these could include tariffs on UK fish and seafood exports, import quotas, and other economic and diplomatic strategies. And each response carries its own implications and potential for escalation. The imposition of tariffs on UK fish and seafood exports would be one of the most immediate and impactful responses. The EU is a major market for British seafood, with significant quantities of fish and shellfish being exported across the channel. If tariffs were introduced, it would increase the cost of UK seafood in European markets, potentially reducing demand and harming the UK fishing industry even more. This could counteract the perceived benefits of increased fishing rights in British waters, as the economic viability of the industry could be compromised by higher costs and reduced market access. In addition to tariffs, the EU could impose import quotas or other trade restrictions on UK seafood. Such measures would directly limit the volume of UK exports entering the EU, potentially leading to oversupply and price drops within the UK market. And this could harm not only fishers, but also the broader seafood industry, including processing and distribution sectors. And trade restrictions could also extend beyond the fisheries sector. The EU might seek to impose broader economic measures on UK goods, affecting various industries and potentially leading to a tit-for-tat escalation of trade barriers. Such a scenario would exacerbate economic strains on both sides and could undermine the broader trade relationship established by the TCA. The EU might also pursue legal avenues through international bodies like the World Trade Organization, which would be ironic, by the way, if the UK unilaterally changes the terms of access. Legal disputes could lead to lengthy and complex proceedings, creating uncertainty and potentially delaying any resolution. Furthermore, the EU could use, of course, diplomatic channels to build a coalition of support from other countries affected by similar issues, applying political pressure on the UK to reconsider its stance. A severe reaction from the EU could strain broader UK-EU relations beyond the fisheries sector. The interconnected nature of trade and political relationships means that a conflict over fishing quotas could spill over into other areas of cooperation, such as security, research, and environmental initiatives. The TCA itself might come under scrutiny, potentially leading to calls for renegotiation or even jeopardizing the agreement in extreme cases. The potential for escalating tensions underscores the need for careful negotiation and diplomacy. Both the UK and the EU have vested interests in maintaining a stable and cooperative relationship, given their significant economic and political interdependence. The fisheries dispute exemplifies the broader consequences of Brexit. The decision to leave the EU has fundamentally altered the terms of many bilateral agreements, requiring new frameworks and negotiations. And the fishery component of the TCA is a direct result of Brexit, reflecting both the opportunities and challenges that come with redefining national boundaries and resource controls. Brexit has introduced new complexities into the EU-UK relationship, and the fisheries sectors is a microcosm of these broader changes. The transition period set to end in 2026 is not just a deadline, but a critical moment of reckoning that will test the durability of the new relationship established by the TCA. The outcome of this situation will likely shape future interactions and set a precedent for how both sides manage disputes and renegotiate terms in other areas. The fisheries component of the trade and cooperation agreement between the UK and the EU highlights the ongoing consequences of Brexit. The year 2026 is a crucial juncture that will determine the future of EU fishing rights in UK waters and, as I said, could have far-reaching implications for the whole relationship. The potential responses from the EU, including tariffs, import quotas and legal actions, underscore the stakes involved in these negotiations. And as the UK approaches the end of the transitional period, it will face the challenge of balancing its sovereignty over its maritime resources with the need to maintain a stable and cooperative relationship with the EU. And the fisheries dispute is a reminder of the complexities and enduring impacts of Brexit, shaping not just the economic landscape, but also the broader political dynamics between the UK and its European neighbours. And if you want to see another video, the next one is right here in the end screen.